Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to a session of Canvas Live. Canvas Live sessions are presented by the Canvas community members or instructor employees or both to help Canvas users improve and enhance their teaching and learning with Canvas. So today we are going to conclude our Google LTI series and have a discussion with the K12 team and the product manager for the Google LTI The agenda today, we're going to go overview and some introductions. We'll introduce our panelists. We have a list of questions for our panelists, and they'll give us their feedback to those questions. We'll talk to Kate, the product manager for the Google LTI, and we'll talk to her about her feedback and some next steps for this particular integration, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. So let me introduce our wonderful panelists that were able to be here with us today. As you know, we've had the Google LTI available for a few months now, and these folks have played with it, have tested it, have tried it in different scenarios, and so we're excited to gather their feedback. We have Terry A. Ross. She's the Director of Information Systems at Conroe School District in Texas. Welcome, Terry.
Thank you.
We have Jason England. He's a Technology Coordinator at Lacey Schools in New Jersey. Welcome, Jason.
Hello.
Matt Haynes. He's the Digital Learning Integration Specialist at Muskogee County School District in Georgia. Welcome, Matt.
Hello.
And Lisa Rogers, she's the District Instructional Technology Specialist at Forney School District in Texas. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning.
And of course, our Senior Product Manager for the Google LTI, we have Kate McGee with us. Hi, Kate. Good morning. So we're just going to go ahead and get started. As you know, we had a 6-part series that went over all the different functionalities of the Google LTI over the last few months. And this series covered everything from how to integrate or how to install the Google LTI all the way to how to leverage it with your files, how to sync it with your assignments and create cloud assignments, and how it works with the collaborative tools in Canvas. And so we'll touch upon all these things, and the culmination of these series is this, a sort of informal discussion with our panelists about all aspects of the Google LTI. So we'll start with question number 1. What challenges did the LTI help to resolve at your school? And for the first question, we'll go to Matt, and then we'll go to Lisa for their feedback. Go ahead, Matt.
All right. Hey, everybody. Our school district is about 30,000 students, and we're in a unique situation with this Google LTI app in that we have not actually deployed Google Apps to our district yet. It's something we're planning on doing next year because we are about to heavily invest in Chromebooks for our students. So one thing that this helped us solve the problem of is we've been an Office 365 school district for a really long time. And this new Office 365 LTI integration, as well as the Google integration, they do a lot of the same things like the cloud assignments. And so we're trying to minimize how much reteaching and training that we have to do. So with being an Office 365 district and a Google district and allowing the teachers to decide which or if both they want to use, we're trying, by showing everybody how to use Google Apps through Canvas, we can minimize the amount of extra training we have to do, because some of those options are very similar. You know, if I'm walking somebody through a cloud assignment, it's pretty much the same other than clicking on a different LTI tool out of the external tools list. So that's a lot of what it's doing for us. And then, of course, just doing cloud assignments in general, some people have been very hesitant to move to Office 365 because I guess the name Office 365 is very unfamiliar to them, but everybody, especially in education, K12 education, has heard of Google. And so I think a lot of people have been begging us for things like Google Classroom and stuff like that. So once they hear the word Google, everybody's ears kind of pick up. And they kind of want to get involved now. And so I'm actually using this Google LTI training not so much to push people to Google Apps, but to push people back onto Canvas. Because Canvas will be our primary focus when we do training. It's not going to be G Suite training. It's going to be Canvas and how to use G Suite in Canvas or how to use Office 365 in Canvas.
Thanks, Matt. Lisa, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, we're kind of in the opposite end. We
That's good.
deployed Google first, and then we went to Canvas. We have about 10,000 students, and we are one-to-one Chromebooks 4 through 12. So the problem that Google solved for us was we had people all over the place. We had people still using Google, then we had some people in Canvas, and then we had people that were putting out links, and then some people were getting a ton of emails, and having the integration piece allowed us to have the same thing for every student in every classroom, and it made it so much easier.
Thank you, Lisa. Any other panelists have anything to add?
Well, we're like Lisa in that we're going the other way. We have had Google Apps for quite a while, but we also are adding 365 in the fall. So we're kind of going the opposite direction. But we really have appreciated the ability. We have I have 60,000 students, and we have about 250,000 documents in Google Apps. And so it's been a big thing for our teachers to be able to access those, and our students to be able to access those directly and a little more easily. And one of the things I didn't send in the responses I gave B-Rai is that the collaborations have been really nice too, because we have some folks that really used to use Etherpad when we first went on Canvas, and they don't have that option anymore, and they like the ability to use the collaborations inside of the Google, inside the collaborations to just for general group work on a project, or our language arts teachers, I think in particular, use them for just short writing things that they may be doing, warm-ups, that kind of thing in their classroom.
Thank you. Jason, anything else?
Yeah, we're a unique situation in that we've had Google for over 5 years now, and our teachers have used different LMSs, most of them free, a few that we've paid for, and they were big Google Classroom users. And what we're trying to solve is the problem that parents and students, as they come through our district and go to the different schools, they're going to different products. So even though we've been using Google Apps and we have a big investment in Drive and for file storage, Canvas is really bringing that all together with the LTI, so that our students, our parents, our teachers are really going to be working in one online classroom, as opposed to a different class or a different online service for each individual class.
Yeah, it's very interesting how everybody has sort of their unique perspective and needs, yet at the same time, some of the common goals of keeping everything in one place and having sort of a seamless experience seems to be the same. Thanks, Jason. We'll jump into our next question. Question number 2. What are the most commonly used functions of the integration? As you know, when the product team goes in and tries to develop sort of an integration like this, or a feature that in Canvas, they always want to make sure that they're giving priority to the things that the users are most likely to use the most. And so I think it's very important that we have an opportunity to share back which of the functionalities are really good, it worked, and they have been really well received and adopted. So Jason, I'll go back to you, and why don't you go ahead and start this?
Sure. Well, I guess first and foremost, because we're again so heavily dependent on Drive for storage files, we've been using it a lot for Pages to get information out to our students initially, but then also now what we're really trying to train our staff on is to use it almost like they did with Classroom, but for the cloud assignments, to get feedback real quick, get it into the SpeedGrader, and really just streamline the development of their work and all of their assignments.
Great. Anybody else have anything to add to that? Jump on in. Lisa?
We love the ability to have that submit button right there where they don't have to go and look for where they saved it. It's because we have the Chromebooks, they don't even have to leave Canvas. They can answer the question right there, do whatever, and then hit the submit, and it instantly, like Jason said, goes into the speed grader.
Terry, you look like you were nodding and
Well,
agreeing.
no, I would absolutely agree. It's definitely made it easier for our students to submit. Before we implemented the LTI, they were submitting Google Docs as things anyway, but it was a little more difficult, and it's just so easy for them to submit Google Doc assignments with that. And then I'm with Jason. The cloud assignment, I think, is a game changer in terms of how you can the ability to create that template and everybody gets their own copy, as opposed to having to, what they used to do, which is share the document out and then somebody would edit it and mess up their master, forget to make a copy, or else they have to create a copy for each student to start out. So the cloud assignment just makes their lives so much easier on that type of thing.
Oh, and one more thing too about the speed grader, being able to use the speed grader and kind of identify what all staff are going to use to help the students and to give them feedback, as opposed to relying on different Chrome extensions and different Google apps and different things that might break as Chrome continues to upgrade, things of that nature. To have all that in one spot, it's number one, it works all the time, and number two, it's very easy to train everybody in because it's a consistent workflow for them.
Yeah, one other piece I think is going to be really key for our students especially is in the course navigation, having those Google Drive or Office 365 menu options in the navigation that just directly pull up their cloud drives. Because if they can just click on that and access their Google stuff on the drive right there in Canvas, they really don't have a need to have to open another tab to go to that and pull up their stuff. It can all be done in Canvas. One terminology that we use a lot in our school district is we like to make things as much as possible be a one-stop shop for all of our students and teachers. And the more icons and things that I can get them to in programs outside of us, whether it's our SIS system or in this case their cloud storage, that makes it easier on everybody, and it's faster in their workflows.
Although I will say we did have quite a few teachers who had that freak out moment when their drive appeared there that, oh my gosh, can my students see my drive? And it's like, no,
Yeah.
they see their drive, not your drive. But the first few weeks I answered that question quite a bit, because we did have some teachers who immediately assumed that the students were seeing what they saw.
Yeah, maybe we should change the navigation to say your Google Drive.
Your Google Drive, yeah, because we definitely had those freak out moments.
That's a good point. And so before I deploy it, I'm glad that you told me that, because now I know
Yes,
what to anticipate.
did.
I just told them all to hide that from the student view. It was just easier if we did that, just to go into navigation and hide it from student view, and then they weren't so afraid of it.
Great tips, especially when we get to that question about how to best roll this out. I think these are some very good tips to share for sure. Let's go ahead and move on to the next question. Question number 3. What new challenges are you facing with this integration? One of the things that we definitely made was said very out in the open when we were doing the series is that the integration was currently in beta. In other words, we were excited that everyone was able to try and implement it and install it into their instance or into their course, because we were openly looking for feedback. And so we, throughout the course of the series, made some changes and continue to do so. And so now, we'd love to continue that discussion and dialogue to learn more about some of the challenges, not just in the functionality, but maybe a workflow or something that we may not have observed in the development process. So any of that feedback would be great. And I think I'll turn to you first, Terry, for that type of feedback?
Yeah, I think our biggest challenge so far, we are fully implemented, but our biggest challenge, you're seeing a lot of postings about it in the community recently, is authorizations. You know, we get that all the time. We tell our students and our teachers that you need to log on to your district Google account before you try to access something, but we get those authorization failures all the time. They either didn't log on to their district account, or, you know, they didn't realize that their browser is logged into their personal account, and they click to that stay signed in button, you know, when they logged into their personal email that morning, and they closed the email, but they're still signed in. And we get that a lot. All of a sudden my Google Drive's gone. What happened? And it's that, or they get that authorization failure when it worked yesterday, why isn't it working today? And that authorization failure is a huge, it definitely is an issue. And we continue to see that more and more as we're going through that. That's probably been our biggest challenge moving through. And I can see it probably is even a bigger challenge at the higher ed level, because certainly for us, it's a bigger challenge with our high schoolers, who most of them have personal accounts. You know, most of our, you know, elementary kids, our kindergarten, first grade, second grade kids, they don't have a personal Gmail account. So the only one they're logging into is their district account. But those older kids do have those other accounts, and it's a problem.
Kate, do you want to speak to that? You seem to be nodding.
Yeah, certainly has been a common theme with rolling this out. And I guess one of the things that I'm glad to hear, Terry, is that you guys have found some of the things that are causing that, which is the browser issues and the personal email accounts. So this is something that we have written up on our team and are looking at different solutions. We don't have you know, whether that's something we can actually do on our end to limit the accounts that can be added onto this, which is, you know, maybe there's some whitelisting of domains, as well as just making maybe more friendly errors, to the point of not seeing your drive. Make sure that you're logged into the correct Google account. So certainly something that we want to see be improved with the integration, because just like Terry's saying, we're seeing that across the board. So,
thanks, Kate. Anything else outside of the authorization that you found that was challenging, and maybe in terms of the adoption or the workflow that teachers experienced?
I think for us, coming from you know, a variety of different systems, it's really the workflow, where the files are. Our students, our teachers, our staff, we're all familiar with how Google Docs and the sharing permissions work, and Google Drive and storage. You know, the cloud assignment is very straightforward. It puts the folder in your drive. It's very easy to find. And the collaborations, it gets shared with the student, but then the students go to look for it in My Drive and don't realize that, or at least don't realize right away that it is in the shared with me, or they have to access it through their Canvas instance, which is what we want. We want the classroom to be online, but then if they go to try and catch up on something without logging into the Canvas instance first and going through My Drive, they have to remember where it is, as opposed to it being in their classroom. So it's just kind of remapping how the workflow is for students, and reminding everybody where the files are located. You know, it's more informational more than it is an actual problem. But
Matt, were you about to jump in and say something?
I just wanted to piggyback off of the same authorization type issue. That box that actually pops up when you click authorize. I think one of the things that might help people see, oh, I'm about to authorize with the wrong account, is, I don't know how much customization we can do to that little login box, but just blowing up that email address.
Yeah.
So it's like really big right there. Like, this is
Agreed.
the one. This is the one. This is the one you're about to attach. Are you sure? That would be a significant help just right off the bat right there. Just to make sure that they're really looking and not just click, 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 click. And I think if it's really like just so much bigger than the rest of the text, that it would grab everybody's attention before they tried to sign in.
Yeah, thank you so much, Matt. Another thing that I think when we were going through the sessions as well, and Nick and I were doing the presentations or this in the series, anyone have any sort of strong feelings or questions about the functionality of presentations?
Oh, yeah, we would absolutely love to have a presentation mode. You know, just being able to see the slides in the slide viewer mode as opposed to the editing mode. That's definitely a big deal. But in general, we have, even before the LTI, we have always had issues with slides. Quite frankly, it tends to, if the students aren't always, particularly younger students, aren't always the best at knowing how to limit the content on their slides, and how, you know, it's not a great idea to fill your slide with, you know, 10 bullet points all the way down. That makes it with stuff. So they put so much on the slide that when you actually bring it into Canvas, it gets cut off. And when they bring it into SpeedGrader, it gets cut off. So we'd have teachers marking the student down for not including X in their presentation. But if you went out to Google, it was there. It just doesn't show in SpeedGrader. It doesn't render properly in SpeedGrader. And that's true whether you have the LTI implemented or not. So I think in general, the handling of slides is not always great, but a presenter mode would definitely be good.
Thanks, Terry. Anybody else? Anything else to add? You mentioned SpeedGrader. There's some comments coming in from the chat that sort of lends itself to that topic as well. We have a comment that says, I wish students could submit an assignment as a Google Doc and that stays as a Google Doc in SpeedGrader. They had a concern about it converting. I believe it converts to PDF in the Crocodile.
It does.
So that was a comment. And yes, there's some
I don't really have a problem with that personally, just because I don't want the teacher marking on the student's original document in their Google Drive. I like the teacher marking on a copy of it, which is what you're doing in SpeedGrader. So I don't know that bothers me as much.
We have some advanced English teachers who don't like the way when it reformats it for the footnotes and the citations. You know, they want their hanging indent 5 characters. Because it converts it that way, and they don't like it. The other issue with that conversion is that when they use the peer editing, it's the live Google Doc. So you have a student who could potentially change something on when they're peer editing, but then when the teacher sees it, it's a copy, and they kind of would have liked it the other way around.
So I'm glad you shared that, because that's a bit of some new information for me on the peer grading versus what the teachers having, and that with the students, is that the peer grading that they're doing actually inside of Canvas?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll have to look into that.
They see the Google Doc, the actual Google Doc, and that there is some fear that they could change another student's submission.
Cool. Well, I will have to look into that. But yeah, we've had lots of conversations around allowing original commenting within Google Docs versus the conversion, and this is something we certainly want to look at going forward with the integrations. Originally, what the large concern is that there's not a way for us to, or at the time we were looking at, there's not a way for us to kind of prevent the student from continuing to updating that document after they've submitted it, and needing to have a submitted final
point in time.
Yeah. But certainly the feedback around potentially having the option to leave it open is something that we've heard from throughout this period of trying to get feedback.
Thanks for the feedback, Kate. Let's go ahead and move on to the next question, which kind of piggybacks off of the things we're already talking about. Question number 4 what additional functionalities would you like to see with the integration? And before we go to our panelists, I just wanted to read a comment that was left in the chat for us by Christy Steffen, and she said she would love to see group assignments with the doc sharing with the group. I think this is a comment in terms of, I know we could do group sharing by going to collaborations and setting up the group that way, but I think it was more for workflow purposes. Sometimes just eliminating that extra step in those two different areas might be something worth considering. Let's go ahead and start with Jason on this one.
I think first and foremost is the size of the embed. So when we add a Google Doc or a spreadsheet or the slide into a page or anything, you know, it has that standard window, and it doesn't matter really the resolution on your screen or whether you zoom in or out. But if you can control the zoom of the actual embed, I think that would be very beneficial. And then the other thing too, I mentioned it before, you know, in collaborations, it goes into the shared with me. It doesn't really go into a specific place. If that could be moved into the Canvas Drive folder, maybe there could be a folder for the course collaborations, just so that when people do go through my Drive in order to access their information, it's there, and they don't have to spend any time hunting for it.
Thanks, Jason. Anybody else, anything to add to that?
I think back on it, for us, one of the big things would be the issues with slides. We really would like slides to work a little better than they do in general. It just doesn't handle them well, both in the assignment mode or in SpeedGrader. It just, we've had more issues with slides than with anything else.
Yeah, we definitely have lots of people who are looking to have that presentation mode when they are embedding their slides into their documents. And so I certainly think that's something that we want to look at for future iterations of this. So you certainly got good company around that request. And you know, it sounds like that's a common theme around anytime it's you know, not that necessarily the cloud assignments as much, but for as the teacher, when I'm embedding that content in there, I don't want all that extra toolbar to be showing. You know, that kind of actually confuses my students to what I want them to concentrate on, which is the content that I've created. And so great to hear the feedback on how that's getting converted. In SpeedGrader, we'll have to go in there and look and see what kind of options we have and how we can improve that.
Yeah, because we have put cases in on that one.
Okay, thanks for that.
We have another comment from Christy in the chat, and she says, we would love students to be able to edit in the iOS app. Maybe some of the mobile integrations there as well, in addition to that. Anybody else have anything else that they'd like to see as this LTI continues to expand in its functionality?
This one might be way in the future, if even possible. But one thing that comes up with especially elementary teachers a lot is they struggle with making pages that are really good for engaging their young learners. You know, very visual. You know, being able to quickly and easily add pictures into the page, and so like maybe Google Sites, being especially the new version of Google Sites, is very very user friendly and very easy to make really nice looking web pages. Some kind of integration where the teacher could use maybe a page in a Google site as opposed to a Canvas page might be a
That'd
feature.
be really nice.
Yeah, it'd just be, so, especially if the teachers already have pages that they use all the time because they're transitioning from Google Classroom to Canvas, for them to kind of have a stopgap measure of just inserting those pages, whether it's into a module or just having it all embedded right there within Canvas itself.
Thanks, Matt. We've also heard in the past Google Forms. Is that something that in K12 is a need?
Oh, definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah. If they could just, I mean, I could really even see it just being, like an iframe in the course to build the forum and whatnot. But even that's easy for them because now I don't have to open another tab. Like I was saying before, you don't have to open another tab just to go do that. You can, keep it all within Canvas.
Yeah, right now what they do is they put a link to the form on the page and then they're sending them out. So absolutely, that I didn't think about saying that, but yes, that's true for us too. We use forms quite a bit.
Great. Before moving on to question 5, anything else that you'd like? Dream big, people.
All right, here's a little nitpicky thing. We've gotten a few people that, when they're working on a collaboration, the tab title says Google LTI instead of the actual name of the document they're working on, or the title of what they're doing, or something Canvas related. So they'll have a bunch of tabs open and they're working, and they try to jump back to their collaboration, and they can never figure out exactly which one it is right away.
Oh, that's good feedback.
Just little things.
Yeah.
And if I were really dreaming, I'd be able to take my calendar and go both ways. So right now, I can push a Canvas calendar out to my Google Calendar, but being able to push a Google Calendar into a Canvas calendar would be huge. So being able to go both ways on that on the calendar would be nice.
Pretty soon, we're not going to know if we're in Google or in Canvas, guys.
I know. Well, you said
Hey, that's
dream
the
big.
goal.
You said dream big.
All right. All right. Well, let's move on to the last question that we have today for our presenters. Question number 5. What tips you'd like to share? What are the tips you'd like to share for schools that are preparing to roll out this integration? I think we touched upon a few of them already, but I think if we could sum up, if each of you could kind of share, here's the one thing to make sure you do, or here's the tip on whether it's workflow or authorization or anything. Let's start with Terry.
Well, for me, it's always about setting expectations appropriately. So the more I know about what it does and doesn't do, I'm much better off if I tell them in advance. If I can tell my teachers in advance, it's not going to do forms, it's not going to do, or these are the issues with slides, and then explaining the issues with how that authorization works and helping them to try and understand what they need to do when they get an authorization failure. So for us, it's really all about setting expectations and helping them, helping our staff in particular, so that they can help their students understand what are the best uses and best practices for using the tool, and then what to avoid and what it's not the right place to try and do.
Right. Thank you. Jason.
I think the big thing for us was just jumping in. We turned on the integration. We reminded everybody that we turned it on for the district. So if you have it turned on for yourself, to turn it off so that you don't have 2 Google Drives showing your navigation. But other than that, I mean, we had people available to help them, and we're there to support our staff. But we just jumped right in, and we're definitely not looking back. It's all good things. And I mean, I'm listening to all the requests and everything, and it's reminding me how good it is, because it doesn't seem like there's anything holding anybody back from using it. Yes, there's certain limitations right now, but I think it's all heading in the right direction, and it's been valuable for us.
Thanks for that feedback, Jason. I think one of the things we definitely tried to stress in the Google LTI series is that a lot of the things that we're currently doing, people can do without the LTI, but the LTI just sort of enhances it, makes it easier. Lisa.
We use a badging system, so when we rolled it out, it was one of our badges that they could take a little course and then get their badge. And so we rolled it out to the whole district at second semester, and we really have not had any issues except a few authorization problems. And since our kids have Chromebooks that they can take home, we don't limit the apps and extensions that they can install. We had some problems with third-party cookies that students were blocking those. But once we figured that out, that really has solved a lot of our authorization issues.
Thanks, Lisa. And Matt, I'll go to you because you're kind of in the process of getting ready to do this. So any of this feedback hopefully is helpful to you.
Yes, definitely. This is all going to be new for us, although not too new because it's very similar to the rollout of our Office 365 implementation of that LTI. So I think it's just going to be one of those things where this is not so much of a I'm showing everybody how to use Google, is I'm showing everybody Canvas and look what this cool thing you can do with Canvas is.
Sure. Great. And speaking of badges, we will have some quests in the community where we will bundle the series, the videos that we've created. And so if you want to take that bundle and let your teachers know that this is what LTI does, and if they watch those videos, they can get some fun points in the community, that would be great. I'll share that out with you guys soon after the session as well. So lots of good stuff to incentivize everybody to continue being, setting their expectations and being informed of what the LTI can and cannot do at this time. Thanks for everybody's feedback, those questions. To those questions, we're gonna turn it to Kate, and she's gonna sort of tell us what the next steps are and what the future holds for the Google LTI.
Great. All right. Well, I just want to thank you guys so much for the feedback today. It's just as B-Ray was talking about earlier about our process. You know, we wanted to get this out in front of our customers, be able to see where the value really was for you, hear where the rough spots were, so that we can continue to work on this. On these integrations, be able to make them better for you. So all those who have made comments in our community, really appreciate that. That's a great place for us as product managers to come in and be able to, asynchronously be able to get feedback from you and, bring that into our proposals for how to continue to build out these integrations. And all the Canvas live sessions as well have been really insightful. So thank you for those. Thought maybe a fun thing to share would just be some numbers. So we have so far seen over 1,400 accounts within Canvas adopt Google Drive. And so last time I checked, we had over 300,000 users who had, used something in their Drive to link to an assignment or submit a cloud assignment or something like that. So really fun to see the adoption pick up on these. Pretty exciting. And account-wise, that's about half of the accounts that we have inside of Canvas. So pretty cool. We're really looking at some ways in which we can kind of help streamline the workflows is what we're looking for the future. You know, certainly there are things around authentication that we're looking into to streamline that and make it easier for people. But when it comes just to trying to make the experience simple for the teachers and the students, one of the things that we want to be able to do is make it so that cloud assignments are, it's very clear what they are, that for both the student and the teacher, and making sure that they know that that assignment that's showing there is theirs to, to contribute to that template and to submit it as their own assignment. Something we've gotten a lot of feedback on is rubrics, and this is just for external tools in general. We want to be able to allow any type of external tool to enable rubrics to work. So these are all things that we're considering for the future. Anything that we can do to kind of simplify the process for a teacher to enable a external tool like Google or O365 are both things that we're looking at to simplify that. We know that right now that you've got to be quite a savvy Canvas user to feel comfortable going into the external tools, choosing which tool you want, going in there and picking something. So certainly are looking at ways to make that easier. Lots of really good comments around presentations. Google presentations inside of Canvas, being able to make that easier. But so good for me to hear that even the conversions, you're having some issues with content being cut off, was something we can certainly look into and see how we can make that better. And I think some other feedback that we've gotten is just continuing to look at how we can grow the integration and make it easier for you to take advantage of all the amazing tools that you have inside of Google and bring them into your school environment in Canvas and make that as seamless as possible. So that, I mean, really one of the big goals of Canvas is to be a strong platform. We can't build everything that we want to build, and so the best thing we can do is leverage the tools that other people excel at, like Google does with creating presentations. So really excited to be able to continue to develop the integration to allow for the great tools for content creation that Google does and bring that into Canvas.
Great. Thank you so much, Kate. We really appreciate the feedback, and we'll continue to solicit feedback, you know, and look at the community and see kind of what the trending conversations are around this LTI and just around Google usage in general with Canvas. It's not just specific to the LTI. I have opened it up for Q&A at this point. So if you have any additional questions for any of our panelists or Kate, feel free to post them in the chat. We're having sort of a side dialogue here about some different integrations. But any other questions? We'll wait for a few minutes. We will post a link to this video, and then we'll also post a link to the event page where you came to watch this presentation. If you have future questions, please feel free to just add them there. We'll follow up with you at this eventually, of course. We'll follow up there as well after the session. So it doesn't look like there are any questions coming in at this time, but we are getting some kudos and thank yous for sharing your feedback and working hard on these integrations and allowing us to sort of discuss this in the open, which is something we value. So we want to continue these dialogues sort of publicly. So thank you for that. I want to say thanks sincerely to our panelists, Kate and Jason, Lisa, Matt, and Terry, for your time, for your genuine feedback, and most importantly, your commitment to helping us make this better and your enthusiasm for working in Canvas and with these integrations. So we really, really appreciate that. So in conclusion, I just want to say always keep following the Canvas Live space. We always have some good stuff coming up there. We encourage you to follow the space so that you can be notified of upcoming events. We have a Canvas Live user group, so if you want to collaborate on future panel discussions, if you want to create some additional Canvas Live presentations, that's like our working group there. We have a lot of information there if you want to participate. And you can always hang out in our Canvas chat rooms where we talk in real time with other Canvas users. We actually do have a specific channel dedicated to Google, using Google and Canvas. So if you want to just talk about Google and Canvas with other community members in real time, by all means, there's a channel for you there as well. With that said, thank you everyone for being here. Thank you to the panelists for being here as well. And we hope you have a wonderful weekend. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.